Okay. Right. Good morning to you, Reggie.
Good morning, Paul. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you very much. All excited about another great weekend coming up. And also, I can see this event will start soon. Are you still getting start soon on your other screen?
Yeah,
Okay.
it should be
Kicks,
soon here.
kicks in probably about a minute later. So, got a new piece of music this week as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. A young lady. By the oh, there we go. Right, we're actually recording now on screen. That's good. Um, Very good. Okay, so it needs to be a little bit lower for you, I think. So that'll do. Um,
And we're
right,
live on LinkedIn now.
that's good. That's good. We've got the second screen turned off. That's working well. Okay, that's great. Yeah, we've got a new piece of music today, which is this is a bit surreal, actually, Reggie. I played touch rugby in the park across the road, and there's a lovely Victorian bandstand in the middle of this park, and occasionally we oh, there's Tim, good man, Tim. Welcome, Tim.
Hi guys.
We'll be kicking off. Well, we're kicking off right now. It's 1 o'clock. So welcome everybody to the Sustac Plans Chat Club, where we will be discussing AI innovations and ethics in marketing. I've got Reggie Johnson from Fort Worth, Texas. Reggie,
Good
morning to
morning.
you. Good morning. And I've got Tim Bennett, all the way from well Huddersfield, but you're or down in London based, I believe, at the moment. Tim, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon. Actually, Spain today in
Oh,
34
good man. You're back
in
in Spain.
34
Lovely.
degrees heat. So it's very warm.
Well, life is a beach, as the fella says, for you. The last time I saw you was at the London beach party, the AI beach party, which was great. And we're going to be talking about that later on today. Just as always, we introduce a little bit of music to our undiscovered artists. And I was just saying to Reggie, Tim, that I heard this beautiful voice singing once whilst we were playing touch rugby in the park. And there's a beautiful old Victorian bandstand there. And this girl was singing, and a guy was recording her, and she had a fantastic voice. I thought I really must go over and ask her, talk to her and ask her perhaps we could play her music sometime. Anyways, I missed her, and she was gone before I got a chance. And that was about a year ago. And in between times, we have the Hanwell Ukulele Club get up there with about 20 small guitars, and you hear them singing the Kinks and all sorts of stuff whilst you're playing touch rugby in the park. It's really it's really surreal. Anyways, she showed up again. This young lady. Her name is Julia Golick, and I think she's got a great voice. She's got a couple of recordings. She's done other people's music as well, but I won't play that because we like to copyright we respect. So we only play people who've written their own stuff. She has written one song. It's in Polish. I'll ask you afterwards what you think. We play a little bit now and then the full track at the end of the show. So this is a track called Jordan by, I think her stage name is Leah, but her real name is Julia Golick. It's in Polish and I think it's a really beautiful piece of music, but see what you think. Here we go. Jordan.
Lecę jak Lola w kosmicznym meczu. Flow Leosia, melodia jak Kate Bush. Lecę jak w kosmicznym meczu Michael. Widzę cię, wciągnąłeś mnie w bajkę. To moje miasto, to moje boisko. Nie trzeba mi wiele, ale mam wszystko. Idę tu nocą, światło migoczą jak gwiazdy. Patrzy się na mnie chyba każdy. Każdy się gapi lub spodełba na mnie luka. To moje życie, a nie jakaś bania luka.
So there's your little taster. We'll play the full thing afterwards. It gets better and better the more times I hear it. I mean, it's very poppy, it's light, it's lovely, and she's got a cracking voice. So we'll find out what the translation is because she does make reference to Kate Bush. And I said, look, I'll just stick the video in and we'll get the transcription and then we'll, from ChatGPT, and then we'll translate it into English. And her dad, who manages, has said, no, we wouldn't trust ChatGPT to translate it correctly because there's some subtle points made in the music that he'd do it later when he's back from his next trip. So anyways, we'll listen to that again at the end. And that is Jordan by a young lady called Julia Golick. Now, welcome to our other friends. We've got people joining us: David Stinton, Mutaz El Nahal, Rishi Dizwar, Robin Davis, who was met during the week at the London Beach AI Beach Party, and Amanda Leake and Simon Aoyong. So good to see you guys. We have got a busy agenda as always. Now, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we'll kick off with X rewriting the corpus of knowledge, and then we're going to look at the oligarchs getting military status. Now, we mentioned this last week, but we'll just mention it again in a bit more detail. And then our Palantir warmongers is, kind of a brutal question to ask. Then on to Social Media Victims Remembrance Day, and then we go positive into the NHS anti-waste app, and we get Tim Bennett to tell us about that. Moving on to agentic AI's biggest barrier. Somebody worth listening to is Meredith Whittaker, if you come across her. She's the president of Signal. So we'll feature what she's talking about. She's definitely very different, very interesting, and doesn't behave like an oligarch at all. Yet she could be a major player. So we'll get to her. Then we said we'll talk about the critical thinking course that Reggie, you had to go with it?
I did. Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I had to go with it. I did. I'm anxious to talk about it.
Okay, so I did too. So we'll have a little bit of feedback on that. There is another course which I'm going to recommend. Well, see if anybody wants to have a go with it. It's about agentic AI. So we'll have a look at that. Again, staying on the positive thing, blind people can see again with what says Neuralink. So that's really positive, amazing. That's the kind of AI that we'd really like to see happening, is where it's benefiting the world, health and hunger and these sort of serious issues. And then I'll mention something about a video I came across, and it kind of embraces the whole concept of the purpose of life, which AI and philosophy, you really can't separate the two. They're inseparable, as the fellow says. But let's kick off. Reggie, X wants to rewrite the corpus of knowledge. What does that mean, and how dare he?
Well, first off, we know that the LLMs are pulled from scraping a wide variety of content from across the internet. But what a lot of people may not think about is that the editorial control for some of the fine tuning, especially on frontier models, which are really the most advanced models as far as how much data they have, is in a very small number of hands. The tech bros, as we talk about them. We've seen in the past where Musk's own Grok started spewing conspiracy theories about white genocide in South Africa. Suddenly, this was a few weeks back. We've seen situations where if OpenAI is in a lawsuit with somebody, if you bring up that person's name, they will refuse to answer it. They try to keep an editorial distance where they make it seem like they don't have any control over what it says, but they clearly do, and they can fine tune things, and they can edit it, they can slant it, they have a lot of control over what answers people get. And with so many people turning to these AI models for their reality, for their answers, for their facts, it's a little concerning. And some of us have talked about this for a while now, about the concern that this could be manipulated for specific agendas. Now, what we saw recently, Stuart Winter-Terre on LinkedIn shared a post that was on X. I'm not on X a lot myself, so I was glad that someone shared it. But Elon Musk said, we will use Grok 3.5, or maybe we should call it 4, which has advanced reasoning, to rewrite the entire corpus of human knowledge, adding missing information and deleting errors, then retrain on that. Far too much garbage in any foundation model trained on uncorrected data. So he's talking about taking the corpus of human knowledge and fixing the errors. Now, I do believe there are errors in the corpus of human knowledge. I do believe there is missing information, especially from, they say the winners, history is written by the winners. There's missing information from other cultures. But I think from what we've learned about Elon Musk, I'd be a little concerned about what kind of edits and changes that he wants to make. And I think that David Burst wrote a really interesting article, the founder of the AI Academy, talking about, essentially said that if we allow companies to author reality in such a way that we're essentially handing them our children's minds, because it'll shape their belief systems, their vote, their actions. It'll shape everything: laws, fears, ambitions of the people. We let a handful of tech bros write them unchecked. We're basically handing them our children's minds. He gave 4 things we need to prevent it. If you want to hear those 4 things, I can share them real quick.
Yep.
And this is something we've been banging on, Paul, for 4 years now. Transparency about what data is included, what's removed, and how it's presented. Ethical review boards with actual historians, not just growth hackers. And auditable outputs and logic trails. and public education about AI literacy. Now, I can't really see any of the big tech companies investing in any of those things, much less ceding the power
Mm.
necessary to allow for that. So I'm especially when we've watched what's happened with social media. So
Yeah.
it's concerning to think about Elon Musk's text as kind of stating what everybody was already thinking.
Well, it gets more scary. So Elon wants to rewrite knowledge and history and facts and figures and everything that we use by way of knowledge and knowledge sharing. And that is particularly worrying. It's even more worrying when we see that the oligarchs, those big brother, big tech brothers of who behave like oligarchs, the oligarchs are getting military status. Now, Rex Lee wrote a piece and it was shared by Tim L. Sheik. Thanks, Tim, for sharing that with us. And it was saying Palantir, Meta, and OpenAI have been formally appointed. Members of their staff, board level, have been appointed as lieutenant colonels. And the Americans say lieutenant, we say lieutenant. The lieutenant colonels in the US Army just last week, so, or June 13th. So that's particularly worrying, that they're fusing cutting edge technology expertise with military innovation. And, you can see this merger occurring all the time. I think it's upsetting and worrying that that's happened. And maybe I'm a softie, maybe I'm not, but I think we should keep an eye on that, and certainly would hope that wouldn't happen over here in this side of the world. Which brings me on to the thought of, well, our Palantir, if there's a Palantir member of staff in there, and there is, the chief technology officer, Shyam Sankar. Now he's one of these guys that's now a lieutenant colonel. So I have to ask the question, are Palantir warmongers? Now, there was a piece by Robert Reich, professor of public policy at UC Berkeley, co-founder of Inequality Media and former Secretary of Labor. And he says that in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, a Palantir is a seeing stone that can be used to distort the truth and present selective visions of reality. By the way, in Black Mirror, there's some really amazing, in the latest series, there's some amazing stuff that addresses this. It's quite frightening. So, Palantir Technologies bears a striking similarity. So be warned, and that's the words from Robert Reich. So I think it's audacious, really. It's worrying, but it's there. And so they've named themselves after that. And of course, Alex Karp, their CEO, said he thinks the adversaries of America should fear death. And I think, what kind of talk is this from a blue chip company behaving like that? So I think it's just unacceptable. And the British Medical Journal say that Palantir the contract should be torn up that they have with the NHS. And we'll come back and talk about the NHS later on with Tim in a few minutes. But just to make you aware that these things are happening, we should not allow them to happen in this country, we hope. So going to move on to Reggie, the last kind of negative story, if you like, which is Social Media Victims Remembrance Day. What is it? What did it happen? And where was it?
Yes, so Washington, D.C., Nikki Petrosi, one of our favorite parent protection influencers or kids online influencers for advocate for protection. She went to Washington, D.C. with her son, and she showed or with her child. I'm sorry, I don't remember if it was a son or daughter, but they had 246 placards of social media victims, people who had died through suicide or overdose of pills they had bought through social media, with fentanyl poisoning, just these kind of awful stories. 40 bereaved families were there. This was right outside of the U.S. Capitol. A bipartisan act called the Kids Online Safety Act, KOSA, Republican support and Democrat support to help put some more accountability on social media companies for harms that they know about, was talked about there. But it was a very sad day as we talk about the victims of social media and remembering them, and though the courage of the families who have lost a child to come and try to help save others by using their story in that way, and to come out in public and to talk about it is inspiring, but it's a very hard thing to watch.
It's frightening, but I'm glad they've set up a Remembrance Day, and hopefully, hopefully one day it won't need to be there at all. But right now, Nikki Petrosi and all the other parents are doing a great job in helping to flag up. I saw she did a piece on video. We haven't included it now, but about Apple misbehaving and damaging kids and all the rest. So we'll keep her feed going because it's important for people to be aware of this. Okay, enough on the negative. Let's go positive. Now, I had the pleasure of being with Tim Bennett we were at the London AI Beach Party during the week, which was a very cool event right in the center of London, right beside the River Thames, and a beach theme and a lot of talkers about AI. There was a hackathon, which I wasn't sure what the hackathon was all about, where it was going to go, what would happen with it, but something did come from it, which is quite interesting. So can you tell us what was the hackathon about? What did you achieve in the world of AI with the hackathon? What was the purpose of it, Tim?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So we wanted to basically do a number of things at the event. We had about 150 people take part in the actual hackathon itself, and we wanted these guys to be able to meet other people, to network from different industries, from high up corporates to students, and have a pretty level playing field in the world of AI to basically ideate, use ideation and creative thinking to come up with real life solutions for problems that they had in their business or in their work life. And the main purpose of this was to really keep the human in the loop, but also show how we could use AI to accelerate the outcomes from those ideas.
So Tim, let me ask you, Tim, are the outcomes, were you looking for people to generate ideas of products, services, apps?
Yeah, anything basically which was relevant to that particular audience. So as it happened, the guys that won, we called them the Sticky Toffees. They were a collection of guys who hadn't met before today. They were all Everton fans, hence the name Toffees, which is the nickname for Everton fans. And they came together to talk about a problem with food waste. And they were able to, we used our craft framework. So we used a framework to give context to the project, assign a role for the particular AI to undertake, give it attributes, facts and figures, and then really specify our target outcome.
Okay, so just let me clarify this for people. CRAFT is an acronym that helps people write good prompts. It makes them think about things they might have forgotten. So they write good prompts for the AI using your CRAFT framework. And that worked well. So lots of teams around the room generated their ideas, and then you collected them written on stickers, and then scanned them in, and then fed it to, was it a GPT?
It was a GPT. So with Nadia Granata, who's our main host for today, had created a custom GPT for the actual event, and
for evaluating new product ideas. Tim, is that specifically what I was doing?
Yes, and we did exactly as you explained. We did old school stuff where we wrote these ideas down on Post-it notes. Each team had a collection of Post-it notes. We photographed those Post-it notes, and then we uploaded those into ChatGPT and asked it to do some analysis for us.
Right. So the analysis is really interesting. So it then looks at, it summarizes the problem in the context of it. 18% of food and hospitality is wasted, of which 13% is perfectly edible. This is in the UK. This translates to 3.2 billion issue annually. And waste is not just economic, it's ethical, environmental, systemic. So it kind of summarizes their background situation, then the role of what an API might do, and then gives a bit more analysis on it. But it came out with, who came out with the idea that this might fit the NHS?
I think further discussion. So one of the things that we do with these hackathons is then look at the opportunity and the application of that idea in general use. And where certainly in the UK and the NHS, it's very important that we help them manage resources and we reduce costs. And this seemed a perfect fit for them to reduce costs in that particular area, on the side of food waste.
Wow. So it can save money, save environment, save waste, save extra work of cooking the wrong stuff. If this app works out a way of giving people food that they want, that's healthy for them, but save money, stops the waste, which is fascinating. I really think that's a great idea. Now, if it's relatively easy to develop this into the next stage or hand it over to, some kind of incubator group for SMEs using AI. Somebody could run with that and present it to the NHS if they could get the right contact, and test it, pilot it, run it out there and see, does it work? And if it does, grow it. Let's have more of them out there. So that was in the space of, less than an hour. I think you did this in a room, 100 people there generating ideas, and it was able to sift the AI, sift it through, pick the better ones, and summarize them beautifully. Said what to watch out for. Very impressive, because it was kind of chaotic trying to do with 100 people you've not met before and all the rest of it. So I was impressed. I think you have something there. Will you pursue that, or will anybody, or would you be happy for me to introduce you to the Republic people, or do you have your own network of people, Tim, that might want to have a look at that and see if there's mileage in it?
Well, we can't really take the credit for the ideas. So the guys who are involved are a guy called Alan Newton, Simon Barry, and Steve Grant, and a couple of other guys who are on their table there as well. So they really own this concept and idea, and we'd love to help facilitate them taking it forward if it was viable. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll continue this conversation off air and see if we can, with their permission, give the idea over, or one of them runs with it, or whatever. But I think it's just fundamentally an interesting idea. That would be a shame. Nadia's with us. A typical prompt would be using the Susstack framework craft, a GTM for this concept. Feel free to make assumptions and caveats, but please specify them. Okay. So the Nadia's app worked very, very well, which is nice to see. Also, I see we're on our Jim Glennon at a time, the eve of the Lions tour, and we have an Irish international rugby player, former Irish international, Jim Glennon. Great to see you, Jim. So, Tim, I was very impressed with what you achieved in a very short space of time. So thanks for that. We'll chat about this offline together. Okay, moving on to agentic AI's biggest barrier. Now, I came across Meredith Whittaker, and she's a really interesting lady, really, really interesting lady. They're 10 years in business. Her company is Signal. You might have come across Signal. And she wants to remind you that the world's most secure communications platform is non-profit. So this is very different to what we're competing with. It's free. It doesn't track you or serve your ads. It pays its engineers very well, and it's a go-to for hundreds of millions of people already. So Signal is more than encrypted messaging, and under Meredith Whittaker, it's out to prove that surveillance capitalism is wrong. And we've been kind of banging that drum, surveillance capitalism is wrong. So I would just say at this moment, there's a really nice article we'll post in the notes, which we put on prsmith.org/AI-topics. And Reggie's put it up there in the notes, but maybe we might put it up again just to make sure if people want to look at this in a bit more detail or read her article on Wired. We'll put the link up there, but Wired did a piece on her last year, August 2024. And I'm not going to read it verbatim because we're tight on time, but it's a very, very interesting read. And she's on the ball, and a very, very interesting young lady. Refreshing, I would say, to kind of listen to her talking about the world of AI, because the oligarchs that we're dealing with, the broligarchs, as we say, they seem to have their own agenda and are kind of ruthless. And here's an alternative approach that's screamingly successful so far. So good luck to her. I really do hope that more and more people have a look and see what Signal is all about, and perhaps if they can use it. So one to watch out for. Is anybody using Signal at all? Tim, do you or any of your colleagues use it?
Yeah, we use it. Whenever Telegram or WhatsApp's not appropriate. We're playing with it. It's a nice platform.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. And more secure than others?
Arguably, yes, because it's not part of the Meta ecosystem.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. I always go back to Facebook. Owning or having the rights to use all the pictures that you upload on it and all the videos. And so I'm concerned that people are still posting on their children on social media when those photographs can be taken and put into pornography, threats, you name it, no control over it. I'm not saying Meta would do that, but I'm saying that they do take rights to do whatever they want, i.e. they could use it in advertising and so on and so forth without your permission. So I'm increasingly of the opinion that people are not secure in posting stuff. They don't know what the terms and conditions are, which they should know, really. Which perhaps is a function of us being a bit blurred in the way we look at the life and world and information, and we're all time poor and so on and so forth. So critical thinking is a skill that we're going to need more than ever before as AI and agentic AI comes following down the road at the rate of knots. So we took a course. Reggie, you had to go with it. I had to go with it. It was a LinkedIn course. We'll put the link to it if anyone wants to do it. It took less than an hour to do it. What did you think of the course, Reggie?
I really liked it. It was specifically applied towards decision making for business. So, for me, critical thinking, I like to see it applied to the news, to information, to the information ecosystem, especially with social media and all the disinformation out there. But this was kind of more specifically, the scope was for business decision making. And I feel like they covered some of the good fallacies and the heuristics and the biases. And so it helped it so that you could spot mistakes in thinking and help give you some good tips. I mean, overall, the content I felt like was very good. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to neuroscience, so maybe I like a lot of that really dry stuff. I read the original paper by Konovan and Tversky on like biases and heuristics that won Kahneman the Nobel Prize. So I mean, maybe it appeals more to that, but I don't know. What did you think?
I enjoyed it, and I'm very happy I have my little certificate, which automatically you get the option to post it on things and tell other people about it. But that's not why I did it. Because I think critical thinking is a skill we could lose very easily, particularly with agentic AI. It'll do everything for us. It'll book your flights, it'll book your hotels, it'll buy your dinner. It'll even talk to people for you and send emails, make decisions, and so on and so forth. By the way, that's one of the things that Meredith Whittaker did say. She said she's not convinced that agentic AI will function as smoothly as we think, because it needs access to all of your data and all of your credit cards if it's going to book holidays for you and do all this sort of stuff. And what happens? You're losing a bit of security. Or maybe I'm being a bit old-fashioned and nervous of using a hole-in-the-wall bank. No, I'm not. I love them. I think they're great. Maybe I just need to get my head around it that way. But she was kind of suggesting that to give permission to access your funds, your personal information, your calendar with all the contacts that are in there, all the meetings you ever had, and all the rest of it. That she was saying she didn't feel it was safe. So that was her opinion. But as AI and agentic AI starts to do all our thinking for us, we start thinking, and we depend on these things. So critical thinking is important. I really think children need to develop this skill and asking the inquisitive mind, asking questions. I love hearing kids asking questions. But one of the things that struck me as interesting with the critical thinking course was, the 5 issues. One was where we rely on authority too much. We're not brave enough to develop our own opinion without pure authority. Or black and white thinking. Everything's polarized at the moment. That's the second problem. Hasty moral judgment is the third one. And labeling things or categorizing things. Oh, she's a doctor. She would say that, wouldn't she? These kind of assumptions. And lastly, resistance to change. So it kind of challenges that and asks us to, the kind of questions you might want to ask people when they're talking to you and telling you stuff. So I thought it was good. Ultimately, it's about improving decision quality. So that's a good thing. So we'll put the link up to that course, and it might be worth having a look at. And we'll also put up the link to an agentic AI course, which people might find particularly useful. Again, these courses, they're all little chunks, like 3-minute chunks with a little quiz at the end of it. And then you get through it. It's about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I would think. So useful one. So we'll put the agentic AI course up there. Now, before we finish, I wanted to mention something that we came across about the blind people seeing again. Now, I know we're quite negative with AI and saying it does need guardrails. It does, you wouldn't release a car without safety testing. Therefore, why do we release AI products without safety testing? And we bang on about this and trying to call people in and clean up their acts. However, and that seems very negative, I think we do need guardrails and we do need to bang the table. But here's a really positive story that, Reggie, you're familiar with, that the blind people could see again with Neuralink. Is this for real?
Yeah. So, Elon Musk makes this announcement, and let's keep in mind, Elon Musk has made a lot of announcements about how his products are due for a big breakthrough in the next 12 months or 6 months or whatever, and most of them haven't come true. So, I mean, keep that in mind. But still, Neuralink is in the works of developing something called a blind spot, I believe is what it's called, or blind sight. I'm sorry, give me on that name. But basically, one of the interesting, innovative things about it is because of AI, instead of sending electrical impulses to the optical nerve, which then takes a lot of tedious calibration between the human brain and the sensory device, which we talked about last week with David Eagleman's book, Live Wired, and how the brain can calibrate to new senses or even limbs. It's kind of a plug and play device starting at birth. But this is something that bypasses the optic nerve in what he says writes data straight to the visual cortex, which, because of AI's ability to interpret the patterns of activity in the visual cortex compared to the pictures being visualized, it could help stimulate the patterns to create the picture in kind of what's a shortcut, instead of by impulses and the tedious training that would go on. Don't know if I'm explaining that well, but AI makes it easier to do this more quickly and perhaps provide sight more easily to people who don't have sight. That could be something really beneficial. I guess what bothered me a little bit is he went right away from mentioning that they could help blind people see to talking about superhuman augmentation, which he seems far more interested in. Ability to adding in, seeing in like ultraviolet and infrared, and the ability to add superhuman stuff, and then specifically brings it back to we need to be able to access straight from the brain, access AI in order to take advantage of and be comfortable with its benefits. And there's a big difference between helping blind people see with an implanted device like this and trying to give superhuman abilities, because the former is helping people in need. The latter is more luxury toys for the wealthy.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to look at that cautiously. We talked last week about a guy who said, I will not have children until Neuralink is fully tested and ready to go, and I want my kids to have an implant in their brains because he wants them to have an equal chance or a better chance than others. I mean, these opinions are changing rapidly as the days roll by. However, time is rolling by, and Simon Ao Young has sent us a note, which we'll add to the show notes, which is the Carnegie Mellon University, a paper from Microsoft Research, Cambridge, UK, together with Carnegie Mellon University, is very interesting about critical thinking. So we'll post that as well. People can have a look at it. So thanks for that, Simon. Much appreciated. It's just about time up. So I wanted to say that we will be back next week, as always, same time, same back channel. But we'll also have a piece of video that we're going to stick up with the notes, which is a beautiful video, and it was AI made, and I'm calling it The Purpose of Life. It was made overseas, and I can't translate it, but you don't need to. It will make you stop and think about your life, your world, your business, your family, your friends, your networks. Excuse me. So it's one to have a little look at. You'll enjoy that little video. It's a beauty. It's 1:30 London time, so we are done. I will say to you, we'll regroup together again next week, but we're going to start or finish where we started, shall I say, and that's a piece of music that we've come across, and this I'm very impressed with. I hope you really do like it. It's refreshing to see new music on the scene, so we'll give this a roll. This is Julia Golick. She's only 14. I think she's going to be a big name if she keeps it up and her dad continues to manage him. The track's called Jordan. It's poppy. It's lovely. It's a powerful voice. She's got a wonderful voice. And we will get the translation and share it with you in the days or weeks to come. So for now, I wish everybody a great weekend. Tim, Betta, thank you very much. Reggie Johnson, thank you very much. And thanks everybody else for joining in. We appreciate it. And share the word, spread the word, and we'll see you next week. So here is Leah by Jordan, Jordan should I say, by Leah, but her real name is a 14-year-old prodigy, I think.
Lecę jak Lola w kosmicznym meczu. Flow Leosia, melodia jak Kate Bush. Lecę jak w kosmicznym meczu Michael. Widzę cię, ciągnąłeś mnie w bajkę. To moje miasto, to moje boisko. Nie trzeba mi wiele, ale mam wszystko. Idę tu nocą, światło migoczą jak gwiazdy. Patrzy się na mnie chyba każdy. Każdy się gapi lub spodełba na mnie luka. To moje życie, a nie jakaś bania luka. Metronom w głowie jedno tempo sobie stuka. Nagle wryta staje i na ciebie lukam. Ja i ty, to tak jakby mały tune skład. Ty masz tę charyzmę, a ja urok mam. Zatańczymy razem, nie stój dłużej sam. To życie jak z bajki Lola, Bunny, Bunny Bugs. Lecę jak Lola w kosmicznym meczu. Flow Leosia, melodia jak Kate Bush. Lecę jak w kosmicznym meczu Michael. Widzę cię, ciągnąłeś mnie w bajkę. Jak Jordan, jak Michael. W bajkę, ciągnąłeś mnie. losowo. Tak się czuję, bawię się nim jak bawię się modą. Lubię jak jest słodko, ale bryzę słoną chłonąć. Lubię tak, że są wakacje, więc siedzę nad wodą. Choć na co dzień Londyn, to w Polsce mam wszystko. Tutaj jest mój dom, tutaj jest moje boisko. Muzyka to most i jak w San Francisco. Jadę nim do ciebie, zróbmy widowisko. Lecę jak Jordan, już nie jak jakiś motyl. Kot w mojej głowie to już chyba dzikie koty. Taktyka się wymyka, no bo sen mój to ty. Chcę cię rozszyfrować, myślę tylko o tym. Lecę jak Jordan, już nie jak jakiś motyl. Kot w mojej głowie to już chyba dzikie koty. Taktyka się wymyka, no bo sen mój to ty. Chcę cię rozszyfrować, myślę tylko o